as we go through our mechanics, understand that we're trying to create a swing that fires in proper sequence up the kinetic chain, we call it, allowing our hitters to become the most consistent hitters as possible, adding some power along the way as well. Now, the swing starts with establishing a good strong base or having a good stance. I encourage all of my hitters to develop and establish their own stance. Now, within that, there must be a set of definites that every major league hitter does and every hitter must do. Now, the first definite is that our back foot is pointed straight. For the younger guys, I like to tell them, keep your feet pointed down the railroad tracks. The next one is our weight is on the balls of our feet. This allows us to keep the energy stored within our body. As you'll learn later, is very, very important. The next one is we must have our knees bent, but inside of our feet. Again, this allows us to keep the energy stored within our body. Okay? I like to tell a lot of my hitters, pretend that you're a middle linebacker in football getting ready to make a tackle. You're a guard in basketball, guarding someone. Okay? You're athletic, you're ready to move, but more importantly, you're in a strong position. The next one is that our chest must be forward, our rear end out, but not too much, just barely with our chin over our toes. If we rotate or bend too much, this allows us to not be able to rotate as fast through the baseball. Pitch accordingly. As you'll learn later, the pitches that are down and away, you've got to tilt a little bit to get to the baseball. The next set of definites begins with the proper way to hold the bat. Okay, for some of you guys, and hopefully all of you guys as you get through this progression series, this becomes a weapon. We need to know how to use this in the most efficient possible. Starts with the way we hold the bat. We want to make sure our door-knocking knuckles or our middle knuckles are lined up. I hear a lot of youth coaches talk about point your index fingers straight off the bat. If they're pointed straight, then they're lined up correctly. If they're pointed off to the side, then we need to fix them. Make sure they're pointed straight. Okay, this allows us to have the most whip through the baseball. If we line up our fat knuckles or our top knuckles, hey, it kind of cuts off our swing and doesn't allow us to have whip through the baseball. Okay, I get a lot of questions. All right, Kyle, well, we know how to hold the bat, but where do you want your kids to place their hands? Okay, I'm not going to say this is a definite, but I want our hands to be somewhere around our shoulder. Okay, I don't care if it's a little bit lower, a little bit higher, a little bit in, a little bit back. It's just got to be around our shoulder. As you'll learn when we talk about the launch or negative move, that's when there is a definite where it has to be even with your shoulder and our load. Okay, and we'll get into that later. Moving on, as far as the definite in our swing, we need to make sure, guys, that when we're in a good stance, we've established a good base, okay, that our eyes are pointed at the pitcher. Okay, it's a lot easier to see the baseball with two eyes instead of one or 1.5. Okay, and then the last definite that I have is extremely important. Once we've figured out how to establish a good base, how to be strong, okay, feet pointed straight, weight on the balls of our feet, knees inside of our feet, in a strong athletic posture, chin and nose straight over our toes, okay, in a strong position, keeping all of the energy inside our body, we need to create some type or establish some type of rhythm within our stance. Now, this rhythm is small and slight and controlled. It's not super fast and jerky, okay? It's very, very important to keep this a small and controlled movement, all right? I like to tell a lot of my guys, push the weight back and forth from the balls of your feet. Back and forth, trying to connect our hands with our lower body. As we get further on through the progression, we go over some drills. You'll learn of some drills that teaches our hitters to get into this proper position. Now, one thing that a lot of youth hitters have an issue with is when I tell them to create rhythm, all right, a lot of their energy goes away from their body because their knee gets outside their back foot. So coaches, pay attention to this. Make sure that knee still stays inside of our back foot in our rhythm.
All right, guys. Then recap. As you can see, I have Mike Trout here on the screen. I'm going to take you guys through the 7 or 8 actually definites or absolutes in our stance, things that must happen before we can move on to the next phase in the swing. Okay, I'm going to be drawing some lines on here just to show you guys exactly what we're looking for and going through those absolutes or definites. Okay, so the first one on our list is our back foot must be pointed straight. As you can see, his back foot's pointed straight. Okay, he's keeping all of that energy within inside his body. The next one is weights on the balls of his feet. I'd be willing to bet he looks like he's in a tall, strong, athletic posture. That his weight is on the balls of his feet. He's not on his heels. You can't be strong and athletic if your weight's on the heels. It just does not work. Knees are bent, okay, and the knees are actually inside of our toes. Okay, you've got to have your knees inside of your toes, you guys. If we get our back knee out over our back foot, okay, that's going to create some troubles. And again, that energy goes outside of our body, and our goal is to keep it inside our body to allow us to have the most consistent, powerful swing as possible. Okay, our chest is forward. You can see he's in a tall, athletic position. I don't have the side view for him, but you would see that his nose would really be out over his toes in this position. Okay, his middle knuckles aren't lined up, guys, totally. I like to teach, absolutely line up your middle knuckles, but if you are a little off-centered, that is okay. The reason I don't teach that is I really truly believe that when we get into a game, we get into practice, and we always do things in exaggeration. So if we're not really definite about lining up our middle knuckles, we might creep, and next thing you know it, our top knuckles are lined up, and that's going to create some problems or some deficiencies in the swing, not allowing us to have as much power as possible. But for him, man, he's in the big leagues. He can pretty much do whatever he'd like. But again, he's not totally top knuckles lined up with each other, so that's good. He's holding the bat in his fingertips in a strong position. His bat is somewhere around his shoulder. Like I said in the video, we don't need to be super picky here. He is somewhere right around his shoulder, allowing when he goes to his load to have the least minimal movement as possible, which allows for least efficiency and some less common deficiencies to happen. His head is turned straight to the pitcher. Okay, you can see both eyes are on the pitcher. It's a lot easier to see the baseball and what's going on in front of you with two eyes rather than one. Okay, and the last one, guys, is I'll play the video here in a second. You'll see he'll start developing some rhythm. When he does develop his rhythm, okay, you'll see that his weight is inside of his body. Okay, he's keeping all that energy within his body.